Hi, Rich Carrubba. Let's talk about bowling over-under ball reaction. Okay? There's a little difference between the over-under ball reaction and the over-under lane pattern, the oil dressing pattern that is typically provided on most standard house shots. Now, all the standard house shots by USBC that are generally considered a red pattern. They have red, white, and blue patterns, red being the pattern that produces typically the highest overall pace of scoring. So the red pattern, under the red pattern guide, would be, one of the options would be an over-under, or it's commonly called wet-dry. Okay? So a wet-dry lane condition can cause an over-under ball reaction. Let's start with that. Now, we'll talk about wet-dry conditions. That simply means all, and in fact, it's even talked to about a block condition. You might have heard that phrase. Really the same thing. The center part of the front end of the lane has the greatest buildup of oil. Most oil is applied, the heaviest volume of concentration of oil is applied in the center part of the lane, usually from the second arrow on both sides of the lane toward the center. It can vary slightly, the width of it and the amount of it, but a heavy oil condition in the center part of the lane and very little or very light coat toward the edges, abrupt cutoff, would be more of a wet-dry condition. There are conditions that are crowned or blended, but a strong or fast drop-off suddenly is what typically provides over-under ball reactions. That's typically what causes it to occur. If your ball gets to the drive boards too quickly, what happens? More traction, higher surface friction, the ball bites the lane and starts hooking sooner than predictable. If the ball travels in heavy oil longer than you want it to, the ball will skid too far, and it won't hook on the back end of the lane when you want it to at the break point, and you'll come in late and won't get to the head pin or to the pocket as you would like to. So the over-under type ball reaction is usually developed from wet-dry lane conditions. They can be tricky, but if you line up right, they can also be the very high scoring condition that we see most commonly in bowling center conditions around the country. Now, some of the things you can do to make sure you don't get the over-under reaction, we don't want it, we want to get a good consistent reaction, is if you're an up-the-boards player, sometimes you got to start the ball right at the edge of the oil and get it into the drive fairly soon and have a ball that'll skid long enough for you to not hook too soon, and it won't hook till you get down the lane to the break point, about 2/3 of the way down the lane. This way, if you miss a little bit toward the center of the lane, it holds it. The oil skids the ball and keeps it from hooking too much onto the head pin. Or if you get a little wide a target toward the edge of the lane, the drive boards hook it back right away, and then it'll hold its path and get to the pocket. That's why you get very high scores when it's very easy to hit the pocket, when the oil pattern steers the ball to the pocket. We all know that. So up the boards players, you might want to use hybrid equipment or a pearlized cover stock. If you can use a solid, aggressive reactive resin cover stock, make sure that your ball speed and your rev rate and your hand action allows it not to hook too soon so you don't have to fight it. And those are things that come with experimentation. You need to get out to the lanes and practice on those conditions so when you're in competition, you know what to expect. Now, bowlers that have a modest hook, it's usually a pretty easy condition to line up on. You just got to be careful you don't get too much in the dry or too much in the oil where the ball stays in oil too long or gets to the dry too quickly, because then you get that over-under reaction. And again, the layout pattern of the ball, the way the ball's drilled makes a difference. You can check our drilling layouts recommended for all the manufacturers on our website at bowlingball.com. You can collaborate with your pro shop to find out what works best for you. I can't give you in one article or one video the answer for you because I don't know how you bowl. I don't know what your ball speed is, your rev rate, your axis tilt. I don't even know the lane condition exactly. But typically when you're getting an over-under reaction, you need to consider the bowling ball as well as your own alignment, okay? The bowling ball can be either too aggressive or not aggressive enough, and the layout pattern might be designed to have the ball hooked too sharply on the back end. Maybe the power players typically like a very easy, smooth back end ball motion on very easy lane conditions or on very dry back ends. They don't want the ball jumping out of the pattern too aggressively. And typically that's what works most of the time. Very controllable, smooth arcing bowling balls, and if your delivery can augment that, then the matchup together will react very well on the red pattern or the wet-dry oil conditions, and you will not experience over-under nearly as frequently as someone who is not lined up correctly or has a ball that doesn't quite match. We could go on and on talking about this, but I think you got the idea. Over-under ball reactions come from severe oil-dry relationships. Usually the real easy lane conditions is when we see that happen. Make sure you talk to your pro shop operator about it. Get out to the lanes if the pro shop operator can watch you bowl or your own coach can watch you bowl, and discuss your equipment, discuss your technique, your alignment. All those factors are variables that go into making sure you can neutralize an over-under ball reaction and take advantage of that lane condition to get the highest possible scoring that you can do. Okay? Well, I hope these tips help you, and we want to wish you luck, and get out to the lane and practice as often as you can.